Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, how are y'all doing out there, my vast listening audience? If I'm hacking a coughing a lot today, forgive me. I'm gonna have to hit the mute button occasionally, like that, because whatever I've got, I still have, and it's been lots of fun. It really has. A close personal relationship with the bathroom toilet is always a good thing. So, how are you doing, Taylor?
I'm unfortunately better than you. I wish you were better, though.
Well, I wish I was better
I can't say
too.
I'm in the same boat as you.
Yeah, well, last time we talked, you were kind of puny from allergies and junk, right?
Yeah.
Is that still bothering you?
Thankfully, it's gone, but
Yeah.
it gets,
Yeah.
snowing again now. So
Well, supposedly. Now,
who knows with this weather?
Did you get any sleet or anything like that at all?
I got a little bit of sleet, but
Yeah.
nothing to really make a difference.
No,
How about you?
Yeah, just enough to make a sound on the leaves, but hardly anything to notice anywhere else. So, anyway, hang on. I'm trying to get all this stuff. Dadgummit, trying to get this stuff shared, and it's just being kind of difficult for some reason. Come on. There you go. All right, I'm getting it shared now. Anyway, today I titled this "Somebody Tell Me Why," because today Joe Biden banned Russian oil, and I, I'm looking at what the responses to this situation is going to be, and it's like somebody's going to have to explain to me why he thinks it's a better idea to go to Saudi Arabia and Venezuela and Iran than it is to ramp up drilling in West Texas. I'm astounded. I really don't even know what to think about all this, and so I'm going to probably just rant because when you get kind of puny and feeling kind of sickly, ranting's a good thing, right? But I don't understand why we're going this route. And if I hear Jen Psaki one more time tell me how good I got it because Joe was on the job, I think I'll pull what's left of my hair out because she's trying to tell people yesterday that we produce more oil than anybody in the world, which is true, but that they have not done anything to deter or discourage oil production in this country. And I just like, how do you say that with a straight face without cracking up? Of course. That's been one of the main problems here, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Um, but anyway, I'm going to talk about some of that, the oil situation, a little bit about what's going on inside of Russia and what this probably will do to Russia. Maybe some updates on that, but also about the gas prices and a lot of y'all, this may be your first go around with these kind of gas prices. All right, these kind of gas prices. The only time in my memory that it got up to this high was about 13 years ago or so. In the summer of 2008, it got pretty high, uh, and then the bubble burst. It basically back then the oil prices are being driven up by speculation, not by shortages of supply or excessive demand or international events. It was just basically speculators and investors driving up the price of oil. And then when the bubble burst, the price of oil dropped dramatically, and a lot of investors took a real beating on it. And the price of gas came down almost by half within a few months. But this isn't going away in a few months, I'm afraid. So before we jump on all that, let's talk about our sponsors. And while I'm still in a good mood, dadgummit. Thank you, Daniel, CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Check out their webpage for their training programs, their membership plans, specials, what's going on. Get ready for spring and the swimsuit season and all that other business. But it's a good, strong workout for you to help you get into shape. And thank you, Shandy, for your sponsorship. You and Daniel have been originals, and I appreciate that very much. Check out her 817life.com page if you want to find out what's going on in the local area. But also, more importantly, if you're looking to buy a home in this area, you'll want to check out her page and get a hold of her because she knows what's going on. And there's a lot of concern about the price of houses going up, but they're just going up through the roof. So if you're thinking about that's no pun intended. I get it. But if you think about moving in this area, you might want to get a hold of her pretty quickly and start making some sort of relationship with her to help you move into this area. Also, thank you, Rex, over at the Russell Wealth Group over at Egan. I was driving through the police state of Egan yesterday, and I could just tell that Rex has his handle on things. But anyway, the Russell Wealth Group, myfinancialbox.com. Hit the link, find out a little about him, become a client. He'll help you through these rough patches in the economy that are going on right now. Also, thank you to Optavia, Kimmy Etheridge, 817-789-1622. Hope to see you tomorrow if my health allows it and my wife allows it, because she's been very concerned that I'm not taking this seriously enough. But that's another story. 817-789-1622. Thank you, Kimmy, for your weight loss plan, because it's a good weight loss plan, not the kind I've been dealing with. Thank you, Gayla at Southern Gem. Fine jewelry and gemstones. I could vouch personally for the quality she does, because my wife got a family keepsake type necklace repaired there, and she just loves it, and at a good price too. So go check out Gayla over in the third floor of the Windmill Building if you're looking for something new or something old. Also, thank you to Kim Humphrey. Michelle Humphrey. Kim Humphrey is a friend of mine from many days going by. I'm sorry, Michelle Humphrey. Hotworks. Michelle's got the infrared system working over there, and she's gets lots of glowing accolades from our mutual friends at the business networking group that we all belong to. They just love it because it's a good workout. It helps you sweat out some of your toxins, I guess, and get you into shape without all the heavy iron or whatever you need to lift, whatever. So Hotworks is a good place to go for your workouts. Well, here's the drill. Today, Joe said we're going to ban Russian oil. It surprised me a little bit that we were buying Russian oil, and then it surprised me even more why we're buying Russian oil and have been for a while. Now, we should understand something. I'm no expert in the oil field. I have a couple of friends that do work in the oil patch and work in oil-related industries, and they've educated me some. But one thing that I do know is that not all oil crude is the same. Sometimes it is cheaper to buy from somewhere else than produce it here, because we produce a certain type of crude oil and they produce a certain type of crude oil, and sometimes it's cheaper just to buy it. But the real problem why we're buying Russian oil has really very little to do with that. We have the type of oil that we need and the type of oil we can get from Canada, and that's another story in itself, and I'll get to in a minute. But the reason why we do it is because the kind of oil that we produce down here in Texas and other places can't be shipped economically to a lot of the places up in the Northeast. And so it's cheaper to buy Russian oil and just tote it by barge from Russia to some of these Northeastern communities. Why? Because we don't have the infrastructure. Why? Because we have a president who's committed to making sure every pipeline that isn't already operating is not going to go further. Of course, Keystone Pipeline is the biggest one, but we don't have the infrastructure in this country to ship our own oil around without having to use trucks, which to me is craziness. Trucks are more dangerous and they're more polluting and they use more energy than any pipeline ever would. And they have a much bigger record of accidents and spills than pipelines do. Yet because of the environmental hold that they have on Joe Biden, we don't have the infrastructure in our own country to ship our oil around. So we'll buy it from the Russians or the Saudis because it's just cheaper than taking it up there by, truck convoy or whatever else. Or even worse, by train. That's even more dangerous in some ways and more ecologically hazardous. Anyway, the point about it is that we buy about 8% of our total oil imports from Russia. So today we're not going to buy that 8%. Where are we going to get that other 8%? And it pains me to say we're going to be buying it from three countries that in no way have been our friends. First is Saudi Arabia. Now we've been buying Saudi crude for a long time. The United States is the largest energy exporter, or at least it was. But it's still, Saudi Arabian crude is still of a different type than what we produce here. So sometimes it comes in, it's more economical to buy it from the Saudis and process it here than trying to take what we have and process it even further and trying to make it in something that it's not. In other words, the processing costs are a lot less with Saudi crude oil in certain types. So we'll buy it from them. But here's the thing: in 2019, when Joe Biden was running for president, he and the Democrats hammered Trump for his relationship with Saudi Arabia, particularly after they murdered Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Now, Jamal Khashoggi is a Saudi-born person, but he is a naturalized American, and he wrote opinion pieces for the Washington Post. He was kidnapped in October 2019. No, 2018. I'm sorry, 2018. Tortured and killed in Istanbul, Turkey, it is almost universally assumed by Saudi security forces under the head of their current leader, a guy named Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS, as the press calls him. Mohammed bin Salman is the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia. So while Trump is president, the Washington Post and the Democrats are falling all over themselves. How can we do business with a man who kills journalists like this and tortures and kills and whatever else and covers it up and things like that? Joe Biden said it was a disgrace and he was going to, quit this, patsy relationship we had with the Saudis and make them accountable for the murder of Khashoggi. Well, later this spring, Joe Biden's going to take a trip to Saudi Arabia. Not a word has been said by anybody about Jamal Khashoggi. The only thing that was said was there's a couple of members of Congress, more of the radical ones, that don't care for the Saudis because of their war they have with Yemen right now. I'm sure that's been uppermost in all our minds these days. But no one's saying anything about Jamal Khashoggi. Whereas 2 years ago, Joe Biden was going to hammer on the Saudis for their complicity in the death of this journalist. And now he's going there with his hat in his hand to go and find out, if they will produce more oil. He's going to go to the Saudis and beg them to produce more oil. But we have patches here in the United States that are going unused. We have workers out of work. We have pipeline workers out of work. We have refineries they're ancient in comparison to what they should be. I mean, we haven't had a new refinery in 40 years, and that is not a exaggeration. It's been 40 years since we built a new refinery in this country. So we're still using 1980s technology to refine our own energy. That being said, the trip is planned roughly in April, I think, but it's right now it's in the formative stages. But the very idea the President of the United States going over there to beg the Saudis to produce more oil is very, very reminiscent of the late 1970s and Jimmy Carter. This is part of the reason I entitled the show, Somebody Tell Me Why. Why are we going to the Saudis, who have an abysmal human rights record, who basically has used oil as a tool of blackmail for us for 50 years? And we're going there to plead with them to produce more oil. Second group we're going to, Venezuela. This is another one. We're going to go back. We've already established a new relationship with Venezuela. By the way, we don't recognize Venezuela as a country anymore. Donald Trump took away Venezuela's recognition in 2019 when Nicolas Maduro, their president for life, committed just one too many atrocities, and he also was using oil as a blackmail tool, and also was just brutalizing his own people. We've already reestablished a relationship with Nicolas Maduro in the last couple of days. This is in the Washington Post. The state and commerce department officials have already opened up lines of communication, and they're planning on taking a trip down there to Caracas to go and persuade Nicolas Maduro to basically produce more oil. And so, and Nicolas Maduro is one of Vladimir Putin's biggest allies in this hemisphere. Absolutely. He has supported Putin in this war. He is, and not just in, just offhand comments. The Venezuelan government has come out in full support of Russia in the invasion of Ukraine. And now we're going to go down there. The very people that are supporting the brutalization of Ukraine, we're going to go down there and say, please, if you would, produce more oil for us. And the third one really has me upset, and it's Iran. We're on the verge of assigning a new nuclear containment treaty. I don't know, treaty's not the word, it's an agreement. That's the better word, an agreement that's even more generous than Barack Obama's 2015 one. And that's not me saying it. That's the Washington Post and Wall Street Journal saying it. That's more generous. It's going to relieve the sanctions and put Iranian oil back on the market, and we're going to be buying Iranian oil. Iranian oil. This is what got us involved with them in the first place in the 1970s. And so we're going to be buying oil from Iran, who's the number one sponsor of terrorism in the world by our State Department's definition. We're buying oil from the Ayatollahs, who are an existential threat not just to Israel, but also to every non-Shiite Muslim country around them. And we're going to be financing this. This is what's driving me crazy is that people say we need to ban Russian oil because we're financing the war. Okay, I get that. Okay, I understand that. But we're going to be getting oil not from American sources or maybe even Canadian and Mexican sources, which are, we have agreements with and already some level of infrastructure with. We're going to foreign countries that are our enemies. Iran and Venezuela are not our friends, rivals, whatever. They are our enemies. And we are financing their ability to continue that animosity and enmity towards us with their own money. So somebody tell me what's happening? I'm reading here in the National Review by Kevin Williamson, sorry, and basically he's talking about what I'm talking about here, and that we're paying the price for some of these environmental programs. For example, New York State has a real great opportunity for natural gas, but that idiot Cuomo banned all fracking in New York, and so it wasn't just a clown show that he turned out to be, but he also was costing you and I down here in Texas and other parts of the country because of what Williamson calls it stupidity and cowardice. Also, I'll go back to the Keystone Pipeline in the Dakotas. That if that had not been canceled on the very first full day of Joe Biden's administration, it would be completed by the end of this calendar year, and we would be making up more than the oil that we get from Russia. Basically in the Keystone Pipeline, we would have gotten 840,000 barrels of crude oil from our Canadian allies and neighbors, and as well as putting thousands of Americans to work, and it would have displaced the 600,000 plus barrels of Russian oil. So, Ben Nichols says, I need to stop looking at these actions as incompetence and rather with malevolence. I don't know if I'm going to go malevolence. I really do think it's just plain ideological incompetence, and it's such a rigid adherence to this green agenda that Joe Biden has suddenly adopted. Never in his senatorial career was he like this until it got him elected president. But his complete capture on that part of the Democrat Party, I think, is leading to a lot of these boneheaded decisions, and that's all they are. They're boneheaded decisions that are not in America's best interest. He says today, I'm looking at the headline of the Dallas Morning News, the decision is not without cost here at home. Okay. I'll take the other side and say, sure, is he responsible for the invasion of Ukraine? I'm not going to go as far as Hannity or the other crowd to say it's all his fault, but I will say that he left us very, very unprepared. That this whole thing caught Joe basically just out of nowhere, even though a blind man could see the signals from way off. Even I, in my limited vantage point here, could see it coming way off. And it's like he couldn't really believe it was going to happen. And he didn't take the steps that it would take that he needed to have taken to prevent this from happening. Would the oil prices gone up with this? Sure, because there's more to oil prices than just supply and demand. There's speculative investors, there's futures contracts, blah blah blah. There, all these things. But I'm just saying that what would have happened was we'd have been better prepared if Joe Biden had taken this more damn seriously and really thought that 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 solar panels and windmills were not going to make up for $600,000, 600,000 barrels a day. Scott here, Reverend Scott says years of Russian collusion based on lies and fabricated evidence. Now we have terrorist collusion by this administration with public common knowledge, and nothing will happen. We'll see in November, but I don't. But we're going to be paying a price between now and November. So let me reiterate what I'm trying to say in a more coherent fashion. Wood prices have gone up, even if Joe Biden had taken every possible step. A little, yeah, a little bit. It would have gone up because that's the nature of this market. However, because of his poor foresight and seeing this happen, we are not producing oil like we should, and we have placed such environmental constraints on it. Now, look, everybody says, "Are you in favor of spoiling the environment and ruining the environment and all this?" That's a false argument. You can drill for oil responsibly, and I promise you, the Venezuelans and the Iranians don't give two wits about the environment, or the Saudis. We're buying oil from countries that have zero to very little environmental restraints on how they produce their oil. So it's okay to buy their dirty oil produced in a very environmentally hazardous way while we keep American producers tied up in all sorts of EPA regulations and all other sorts of kind of restrictions. So we want this nice, clean environment here. We don't care if Venezuela or Iran spoils theirs, but it's the same thing. If we really are a global planet society, that what happens in China and Russia and India in terms of their environmental policies affect us here in the United States, that we should care. We should want to drill here in the United States where we have a better, much better environmental record than these countries do. Venezuela's method of drilling is one of the most destructive of the environment in the world, and we're going to be buying it from them because we'd rather have the damage over there than over here. And that's still a false argument that if we didn't buy that, they would have the damage here, because our technology is much more advanced than the Iranians. They're still using old technologies. They don't use fracking yet because they don't have the technology. Same thing with Venezuela. And they don't need fracking in Saudi Arabia. But here's my point. People will say that that oil is polluting, and then it's bad for the environment, and fossil fuels need to be phased out. That's for the future. All right, for the future. Right now, we still have significant hurdles to get to this electrified situation that everybody thinks is going to happen. If we really, right now, given our current technologies, went to an all-electric car force, I don't know what's a better word for it. All we had were electric cars. There'd be some other environmental damage just in the creation of the batteries necessary to make it happen. Even Elon Musk says this. Musk himself. Did you see this, Taylor, what Musk said about oil and gas?
I did, actually.
Yeah, and he said that we need to produce more. This is Elon Musk, right? The patron saint of electric cars. Saint Elon says we need more oil and gas because he knows that right now we don't have the ability or the technology to produce electric cars at the kind of size of a fleet that we would need like we have now with gas-powered cars. If we try to produce the batteries, it'd be considerably more environmentally damaging. Where do these minerals come from anyway? A lot of them come from Africa or China. And so we'd have to deal with that. Now, again, I'm not saying that there's no point in electric vehicles or other types of green energy, but it's not today, and it's not going to be tomorrow. It's still something in the future. It's a goal you want to work for, fine. That's great. But it's not happening today, and it won't solve our problem today. And it won't solve our problem tomorrow. We're still years away. And this is, again, Elon Musk saying this. We're years away till we get to the point where we can phase out fossil fuel based energy and replace it with electric based, which, again, then we have that whole other discussion. Where does electricity come from? And on and on and on. That's a scope for another show. That's a broad topic right there. So I'm going to kind of save it for that. But The point is that we're buying oil from polluting, economically destructive enemies of our country because Joe Biden would rather deal with the Ayatollahs than AOC. Okay. He'd rather deal with Nicolas Maduro than with Bernie Sanders. Because the Green Party, the Green faction of the Democrat Party dominates a social media platform to such a point that if Joe Biden said we're going to ramp up our oil production here in the United States and we're going to reconsider that pipeline, you can count on the Twitterverse going absolutely insane. And he doesn't want that. So I'll go talk to this tyrant who brutalizes his own people in Venezuela. I'll go to Iran, who has sponsored more terrorism in the Middle East and elsewhere than any other country in the world. I'd rather deal with terrorists than with the Democrats on my left. And that's, if I sound mad, I am, because we're paying the price. Well, Taylor, did you see the gas prices yesterday by any chance? Or today even?
Yeah, they just keep going up and up and up and up and up. We're
Yeah.
pushing almost $4 here.
Yeah, I saw anywhere from $3.89 to $3.99 here, and Burleson has cheaper gas than Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And so
California, it's over. What is it, like $7 now?
well, I'm all busted up for California because they did that to themselves. But anyway, and here's the thing: they said, well, we need one way we can lower the cost of gas is get rid of the federal gas tax or suspend it, which is about 18 cents a gallon. Okay, that's going to make a big difference, isn't it? You know, a lot of taxes on gas is state, local, national, whatever. The national gas tax is 18 cents. All that would, and that money's dedicated to roads and infrastructure. All that would be doing is starving that account. It won't make any difference. So anyway, I'm going to pause here for the second round of sponsors, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about this and a little bit what's going on in Russia, and then I'm probably going to have to bail because the old man is wheezing and gasping. Anyway, so thank you at Auto at our place. If you're listening anytime soon, I may need that remedy that you had before. For when I had COVID. See, this has been a real Jim Dandy of a year for me health wise. What is this, March 8th, and I've already had flu and COVID. Next is going to be what? Pneumonia, tuberculosis. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, thank you to our place. It's a great place to go have breakfast, lunch, brunch, whatever you want to call it. It's always busy, so it tells you what kind of place it is. It's a very relaxed, friendly place. And I thank Otto for your sponsorship and your friendship. You're a good man, Otto. Thank you to Chris over at Wild Cigar. I'm sure during the basketball tournament, he'll have that going on 24/7. Today begins the tournaments at the conference levels, and the next week is March Madness. And I just love it. What I like is you turn on the TV at like 12:30 in the afternoon, and there's live sports, and it isn't, cricket or something. I mean, it's like real sports. It's a great country, despite what I've been talking about. Anyway, so Wild Cigar and Culture has the really very nice humidor. Also, the gift cards are there. Get yourself a nice drink, a nice smoke, have a conversation. You can hear yourself think. It's a good place. And, Chris will be walking around acting like a big shot, kind of like Otto does at our place. Thank you, Antonio, at Proactive Payment Solutions at proactivepaymentsolution.com. Thank you for your service and your sponsorship. So if you're looking for a point of sales person to deal with, to help you guide yourself through a new system or a better system, he's your man, proactivepaymentsolution.com. Check out the webpage and call for Antonio. Also, got Payne Beagles at Beagles Technology Solutions. BeaglesTech.com is the website. The number is 817-944-3572. Make your home a smart home. Integrate your data. He can help you put your entire home on the system that you can not just turn out the lights when you leave and that kind of stuff, but just the whole house will be coordinated and integrated. And also, he does aerial drone videography. So if you're a contractor, you're a real estate person, you're an insurance adjuster, you name it, he can help you with that as well. So give him a call at 817-944-3572. Also, yesterday I had Tiffany on at the Local Life magazine, and she showed me the new format, and it's very nice, bigger format, so old men could read it easier. Also, I remind you that we have the pub crawl from 11 to 5 on Saturday. The weather will be fine by then. It may be a little chilly on Friday morning, but it's going to be fine on Saturday. And so you can go and get your Irish on, I suppose. So it's the pub crawl in Old Town. Check out locallifetx.com for participating patrons. Also, Live 365, your voice, your station, rocking out as we speak. Check it out and listen to some decent music without a bunch of commercials. Okay, I'm going to finish up on the oil thing. They're projecting gas prices in some areas of the country to reach record highs. In fact, the average right now is 417. At least that's what I checked a couple hours ago. And like Taylor mentioned, it's just rising rapidly all the way through it. But the thing about it is that it's hard to put into a nice, succinct way of phrasing it just what the impact of fuel costs do to our economy. Everything hinges on fuel costs. I went to the grocery store yesterday. I won't say which one because I was picking up a couple of things. Last night I was doing better than I was this morning. I don't know what the deal is, but anyway, I stopped. Robin and took me to the store, and we picked up a couple of things, and I was shocked at the price of bread. The price of bread, a staple, and and why is it? Because wheat's so much more expensive? Hardly. It costs so much more to produce it, to harvest it, to process it, to transport it. It just was amazing. And everything that you could think of is gonna be touched by these high rising fuel prices. Not just groceries, but I can't think of anything that won't be because everything is gonna be shipped at one point or another. And your shipping costs are gonna go up at Amazon or UPS or FedEx because their fuel costs are gonna go way up. So if you think you're saving some money by shopping Amazon, you might save a few bucks, but it's gonna be higher than it was before. Same thing with, I keep going back to groceries. What angers me about this whole thing is that rising gas costs hurt the working class more than any other group there is. These are the people that drive to their jobs. They don't work at home. They don't have somebody like Taylor to get me up and make me look good and all this on this format restream we use now. They work for a living. They have to go out and do it. And a lot of them work in fuel intensive jobs, construction and things of that nature. And whatever, Biden wants to strut his stuff about rising wages, it's all eaten up and then some by rising costs. And and one of the things that's fueling the incredible rise in the home price of homes around here isn't just lumber and labor, but also just the transportation costs of the materials and the cost of producing those materials. Joe Biden left us unprepared. Now, could he have resolved 100% of this problem and we have no impact at all? Of course not. I'm not going to get into that kind of black and white dialogue, but he left us unprepared. He left us unprepared not just last week or last month, but when he first took office and he began dismantling a lot of our energy infrastructure, and they began to deny access to certain production of oil, that they began to uh, restrict the type of production of energy. To use the EPA as a hammer, there's currently right now a Supreme Court case. West Virginia is suing the EPA because it went too far in some of its regulations, and I read the case in the Wall Street Journal, and I fully agree with West Virginia. And so all my point with all of this is that he left us unprepared last year, 8 months ago, 6 months ago. This is a contingency that we may not have been able to pick the exact day, but we shouldn't be surprised. And we should, even if the Ukraine Russia situation never existed, we should always be prepared for these type of disruptive events that go on around the world. And we're unprepared. And now we're seeing gigantic hikes in the gas prices and in food prices and in petroleum-based products and things of that nature. So, yeah, I blame him for that. Will it cost him in the election? Who knows? We'll see in November. He gives a speech last week. Everybody thinks it's not everybody, but the media anyway, thinks it's the greatest speech since Gettysburg. And it was pretty lame, but that's fine. And the natural tendency of Americans to support their president in international crises is apparent. So yeah, his poll numbers have jumped up a little bit, but I think a couple more trips to the gas station, the grocery store, and it's going to go right back to where it was before. And is Joe Biden responsible for it? A good bit of it, absolutely. And I'm mad by that. I really am, because this is not something that we could not have foreseen. This is not something that we should have known, that the rise in expense and cost to the American people by being unprepared would be this significant. But we didn't. Instead, we chase around for solar panels and windmills and all sorts of fads and other stuff that think is going to be a new energy source. And so we'll populate whole counties with windmills to produce basically the type of electricity that maybe keep one city going, and that's about it. Or we'll have acres and acres of solar panels. Right now, there's an interesting article in the Dallas, or it's a forward paper, Dallas paper, I don't know, it's a local paper, about how you got two environmental groups fighting each other. One wants to put solar panels and the other wants to protect this grassland. And so they're fighting over, are we going to put solar panels on this natural reserve? One last couple words about Russia itself. People are acting like this is something abnormal. This is not abnormal. This is the norm for history. We have lived in a time where Europe supposedly was at peace for ever since World War II. Well, they forget about the Balkans and they forget about Georgia and Chechnya and all this minor little skirmishes. We haven't had this kind of conflict since the end of World War II. This is the norm for for world history. This isn't anything new. For millennia, this is the way nations competed against each other, is through war. And the idea that we are somehow above it in the last 3 generations or so, that we have put aside war as a tool of diplomacy, if you will, a tool of politics, that's just wrong. What you see with Vladimir Putin, what you see of Xi Jinping, those are the norms. We're not the norm here in the United States. A liberal-based democratic society is not the norm. And in terms of world history, it's very, very recent. For centuries, the countries of Europe had been acting this way, and they took a little bit of a pause anyway. And with the Cold War and a hard peace and whatever else. But domination and power has been in the name of the game. I teach in my government class excerpts from Thomas Hobbes, who wrote in his Leviathan that the natural state of man is war against everybody and everything. And that's what happens. So what you're seeing now shouldn't be looked upon as some sort of abnormality or some sort of one-off event. This is the world as it really is. And we just don't sometimes see that as much here in the United States because we're protected by two oceans and we have two neighbors that we've gotten along with most of the time anyway. So anyway, that's all I have to really say about that. It's going to be a rather shorter show because, a little bit winded, but whatever else. Hope will be better tomorrow. I thank you for your good thoughts and prayers, et cetera, et cetera. I ask for them again. I need to be better soon. I have obligations, so to speak, to try to get not just this done, but DBU and Hill College. I'm all right, everywhere else. Anyway, let's run through the sponsors real quick, and we'll say a very hasty goodbye. CrossFitBurleson.com. Check out the webpage. Say hey to Daniel when you're there. CrossFit Burleson is a good workout. It's a workout for those who are serious about their workouts. So go over there and check out their websites, check out their programs, their training and whatnot. Get fit. Also, thank you to Shandy. I mentioned about the home prices going up, and this fuel prices are going to make that even more so. So if you're thinking about or want to move in this area, I would move with some dispatch, if you would, because the home prices are just rising. Also, thank you to Rex over at the Russell Wealth Group over in Cleburne. Hit myfinancialbox.com and hit the video link it has there. Get to know him, have some coffee, become a client. Thank you to Kimmy. I hope to see you tomorrow at 817-789-1622. Optavia. Optavia is the appropriate weight loss program. I've known 3 or 4 people now that have used it, and they all swear by it. They think it's really, really effective in keeping the weight off, too. So Optavia, 817-789-1622. Thank you to Gayla Moores over at Southern Gym, over on the top floor of the Windmiller Building. For repairs, design, cleaning, inventory, she get the whole thing. Very sweet one, too. Hope to see you tomorrow at the BNI meeting. Also, Michelle Humphrey at Hotworks, a different type of workout, infrared with the sauna, and, there's biking, there's all sorts of isometrics, aerobicize, you name it. You got the whole thing, and it's done in an infrared system, so it helps accelerate the healing process. Hotworks over on 714 John Jones. Also, thank you to Our Place Auto. Hope you're doing well. Stay out of trouble. If you can, I don't know if that's possible for you, but do the best you can. Our Place Restaurant, the best joint in town. Thank you to Chris, the best bar in town. Wild Cigar and Culture. Get you a smoke, get you a drink, get you a little class over at Wild Cigar and Culture. Thank you to Antonio, Proactive Payment Solutions. Thank you to proactivepaymentsolution.com for the point of sales operations. And he'll help you with the best rates and the best deals. Thank you to Payne Beagles over Beagles Technology Solutions. Make your home a smart home, or uses aerial videography if you need it, which if you're, like I said, if you're a realtor or insurance or contractor or some sort, developer, he's the man to call. 817-944-3572. Thank you, Tiffany, for your show yesterday, and congratulations on your engagement. Jimmy is a very, very fortunate man. And I'm really glad to see you happy like this. LocalLifeTX.com also reminds you that the pub crawl is this Saturday, 11 to 5 at Old Town. You in a hurry? Burleson Radio, your voice, your station, Live 365. I guess Taylor's in a hurry. He's got the music going already.
I always start it right there.
Oh, do you? Okay. All right, I'll see y'all Thursday. I'll be ranting about something, no doubt. We got, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have some pretty good shows. We got 2 or 3 nonprofits coming up, plus a very special guest at the end of the month, and I'll save that for next week. There's like a tease. So we'll see y'all on Thursday.